Welcome back. 412-575-2600 on the Bordas and Bordas hotline. I might have used a previous number. Paul, you might be familiar with the number I used in the previous segment. That's what happens, creature of habit. 412-575-2600 on the Bordas and Bordas hotline. Josh Taylor, Paul Zeise. We are taking your phone calls. We are taking your tweets. Who gets a lump of coal in their stocking from you, our viewers? Got a couple votes here. We got Rob, who says, in light of recent events, Ben Cherington and the Pirates get a lump of coal starting over again. Can't argue with that one. We got Mike from Twitter, and he's got a legit case. He gives me a lump of coal because he said last night that Josh Bell was a salary dump. I said $507,000 wasn't a salary dump, and the truth is Josh Bell made $4.8 million last year. He made $500,000 the previous year. I was thinking about the wrong season. Mike, you're right. But Paul, $4.8 million? Not a lot of money, right? Still not a ton.
Well, I mean, no, it isn't. I mean, I guess that what they're saying is he was going to make more this year, and of course, then they were going to have to sign him to a free agent deal eventually.
He was arbitration eligible. That's true.
Right, but they could have paid him for another year and a half or 2 years, and the bottom line there is they were trying to get some prospects. Excuse me, sorry about that. I mean, they were trying to get some prospects, and as a result of getting, that's what they're going to do. And anybody that's saying that they shouldn't be starting over, I mean, what are you watching? They have to start over. I don't know that they have anything really outside of Cabrian Hayes that I would consider to be untouchable right now. So, you've got Cabrian Hayes and I guess maybe Mitch Keller, but for the most part, there isn't a whole lot else out there, on that team. They've got to rebuild. And the only way you do it is by turning some of your players. I mean, here's my thing. If you keep Josh Bell for this year, okay, maybe you're what? Instead of a 68-win team, a 74-win team?
That's kind of how I feel about it. I don't think this team goes above 500 keeping Josh Bell here. It's kind of the old Branch, Rickey, Ralph Kiner aspect. We're going to lose a lot of games with you. We can lose a lot of games without you. Same dynamic. I don't really think it would have mattered. I don't think the money played an issue here. You and I are on the same page. There was not a way for this team, as it was currently constructed, to try to add pieces that can suddenly make them from a bottom of the division team to all of a sudden the playoff contender for two different reasons. One, they're not going to pay the guys that are worth enough to actually do that kind of thing. Second of all, who says they're going to come here? That's the thing with free agency. You got to remind people. Right. You can offer a guy a contract, all the money from here to the moon. He still has to say yes. His agent still has to say yes. And a lot of guys have said no. And some have told me to my face, why would anyone want to come there? It's not that big of a mystery. This is not something that just fans have been conjuring in their minds. This is a real, legit thing. Got to make sure that's out there for people to understand. And this is not something that's brand new. We're talking about a decade and a half here. There were guys that were brought in while the Pirates were postseason contenders and made the postseason 3 years in a row that still didn't want to be here. Remember how long Derek Lee took getting here? They were getting ready to make the playoffs and he still didn't want to be here. So it's not like it's that big of a surprising thing when you have to try to rebuild from the inside and start trading guys away to get prospects back, build in through your own organization, or build through the draft. Because that's the only way you can do it without trying to bring people here that don't want to be here. Let's go to the phone lines. We got JB in Squirrel Hill. JB, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good.
All right, so first of all, condolences to Philip Honey on the loss of his child. That's really a terrible thing.
Agreed. Our hearts and prayers for Pony and his wife Amanda.
And also, with respect to Mike Tomlin, I really feel like he's been the beneficiary of just superior talent his whole tenure, especially quarterback position with Roethlisberger. I mean, Roethlisberger really did steal that Super Bowl. They should have lost that game to Arizona, which would have been a bad loss, I think. And now you're seeing just kind of it's not really Tomlin. It's just go play, and if you're good enough that day, you're going to win, and if you fall off, you're going to lose, which is kind of what's happening now.
JB, I got a question for you.
Yeah,
he's the beneficiary of bad talent. Explain going 500 last season without said quarterback and almost making the playoffs.
I mean, I guess that's okay.
Yeah, that's my point. Thanks for calling, though. That's pretty much all I got. Paul, I don't know how many times we're going to go through this. This man had to pretty much help rebuild a team on the fly because the group that was there when he came in got old on him. That whole defense got old. Guys retired. Guys left as free agents. Guys got traded. and they had to rebuild that entire defense on the fly. And now you're seeing what this defense is. And they're the big reason why they won 11 games in a row. Am I missing something, Paul?
Well, I mean, they also were the reason they were 8-8 last year. I mean,
true. They could have been worse.
Their defense was able to keep them. They were able to keep them get a game. See, when it comes to Mike Tomlin, it's again a very nuanced discussion. He's obviously a very good coach. He's done a great job with the Steelers, and then obviously they, are a team that has never had a losing season and all that other stuff, and that is all absolutely true. The other part of it is, he hadn't won anything really, since they won that Super Bowl, other than winning the AFC title, a couple of years later when they lost to Green Bay. Since then, he's won 3 playoff games. So there's, this all or nothing thing we do, especially in 2020, where every discussion is all or nothing. It doesn't really work. I mean, I think there is room to criticize Mike Tomlin. There's also room to say he's done a really, really good job.
Yeah, I have to agree with that, because if you're looking at it from an all or nothing perspective, 31 teams are going to get nothing every year because only one team can win every year. And let's be honest, on any given season, Paul, are there any more than maybe 6 or 7 teams that could win a Super Bowl in your experience that you've seen over the past several years?
Well, I mean, no, every so often, like it wasn't that Arizona team 8-8. I mean, they just happened to really get hot at the right time and all that other stuff. But for the most part, and I think that's the thing is, how many years over these last 10 years can you actually legitimately say the Steelers were legitimate Super Bowl contenders? That's probably the discussion you want to have, and not how many times have they won the Super Bowl, because, again, only one team does that every single year.
The numbers never lie about that part. Before we take a break, we got to go to our Tri-State Office Furniture Tweet of the Night. We're going to keep talking about football here. This is a crazy stat. Of course, New Orleans beat up on Minnesota tonight. CBS Sports says Alvin Kamara becomes the first player since the NFL merger to score 6 touchdowns in a single game. Paul, I didn't realize no one ever scored 6. I remember hearing a bunch of guys scoring 5, but first one to score 6. I'm kind of surprised at that.
And they probably didn't they have another opportunity and they were down there? They could have given him 7 if they really, really wanted to. I mean, he's a special kind of player, but that was one of those games. To score 6 touchdowns in a game, a lot of things have to go right for you, and a lot of situations have to go right for you. And so it's a tremendous accomplishment, but again, some of it is a little bit just the happenstance and luck.
And I'll say this much, too. If we're talking about teams who have a shot at winning the Super Bowl every year, out of the NFC, New Orleans is one of those teams, especially if they get to play a chunk of games at home. That team is just good. They just don't lose in that dome. If Drew Brees can even be just a fraction of what he would be healthy and that defense holds up, they're going to be really tough to stop in the NFC. Got to take a break. We'll take more phone calls and tweets when we come back before we wrap up. Stick around.